one of the many English haunted areas. The wives of Henry VIII that haunt Hampton Court Palace. Screams were heard. Henry VIII's wives lived at Hampton Court Palace, but at least two are said to have never left, with both staff and members of the public purporting to have seen, felt, and heard an uncanny presence. Henry VIII, the King of England from 1509 to 1547, is best known for his 6 marriages. During his reign, one of the legendary Tudor monarch's most favored residences was the Grade 1 listed building, Hampton Court Palace, nestled in London's Richmond upon Thames Borough. And today, the palace and its 1,300 rooms, you can imagine, is considered to be one of Britain's most haunted buildings, as it's home to centuries of history. It's now thought that Henry VIII's third wife, Jane Seymour, and his 5th and youngest wife, Catherine Howard, both of which lived in the palace for a time, have never left that palace. Jane Seymour, who became queen following the execution of Anne Boleyn, is said to be Henry VIII's favorite of his spouses. In 1537, she finally gave Henry VIII what he had always wanted, a son, whom Henry VIII described as, quote, his most noble and most precious jewel, end quote. Henry VI was the famous Tudor monarch's only legitimate son, but he died at the age of 15 after becoming king at the tender age of 9. After Henry VI was born, Seymour died just 2 weeks later from complications following the birth at the palace. She is one of the only wife of Henry VIII to be buried next to him at St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. However, while her body was buried elsewhere, Seymour's ghost is said to still frequent Hampton Court Palace. It has been reported that on the anniversary of her death, October 24th, 1537, her spectre has been seen carrying a slender candle. What is thought to be her figure has reportedly been witnessed floating down the Silver Stick stairs in the direction of what were her son's rooms on the palace grounds. But the public and members of Hampton Court Palace staff have been allegedly far more affected by the presence of Henry VIII's 5th wife, Catherine Howard. Howard was the youngest of Henry VIII's wives, marrying the 49-year-old when she was just a teenager, thought to have been between the ages of 15 and 19 years old. It was thought that Howard had committed adultery and she was beheaded for treason in the Tower of London, but prior to this she was locked away in Hampton Court Palace after Henry VIII discovered her alleged adultery while there. At one point during her imprisonment, Howard is thought to have escaped to what is now called the Haunted Gallery in a bid to plead with Henry VIII to spare her life, but she was hauled back to her room to wait until she met her fateful end in 1542. Now, she was beheaded at the same spot where Boleyn was murdered 6 years prior, according to Eustace Chapius, the imperial ambassador who witnessed the dreadful scene. And now it's thought Howard haunts that aptly named Haunted Gallery where she once tried to reason with the Tudor monarch, Henry VIII. And speaking on Channel 5 documentary, Hampton Court, Behind Closed Doors, State Apartment Warden Errol Clayton said the palace has a long history, some grand and some good, but some quite tragic and unfortunate. There are those, both visitors and staff, who claim to see things in the palace from white specters floating, meaning white ghosts, floating down staircases to malevolent spirits in the Georgian apartments. Because of that, the atmosphere can be very creepy when you're here on your own. If I ever saw Catherine Howard running down the corridor towards me, or even heard her screaming, I think I would absolutely be terrified. Not only you, everybody would be terrified. Seeing Catherine Howard running down the corridor screaming at you. Anyway, members of the public, this is amazing. I mean, how many haunted houses are there in the UK? There's hundreds of them. Members of the public and staff have felt dread, anxiousness, chills, or the presence of a spirit in the room. Others have told of how they have heard screams, with two visitors even fainting within the space of half an hour while in the gallery in 1999. There are other specters, that is, ghosts, purportedly haunting the palace, but in the early 1500s by Cardinal Wolsey for Henry VIII. Visitors have reportedly seen the ghost of a dog and have smelt lavender perfume with the feeling of being followed. Oh my goodness, the ghost of a dog. In 2003, a ghost named Skeletor, because of its apparent similarity in appearance to the He-Man antagonist, was seen opening fire doors, which was captured on CCTV, puzzling security staff. Whether Skeletor, quote unquote, was just a person in fancy dress pulling a stunt has never been discovered and remains a mystery to this day. Amazing. This is by Rihanna Ducan on Express UK. If you've ever visited Hampton Court Palace, please let us know. All of you, my watchers, my subscribers in the UK, please let us know if you've had any type of a weird experience while visiting this place. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.